So Vihang, tell me, where did
Yes.
your career journey really begin? Where did you grow up, and where do you call home these days?
Great stuff. I think I started off in India. I was a mechanical engineer by education, and I started off in software industry. So software technology services was my first industry that I started in, working across multiple continents, going through providing services to customers in Asia, in US, Europe. Eventually landed in the UK, continued still with services, then also moved into companies for providing or being part of their technology teams. Um, these were all tech-enabled companies. And finally now I'm going to be part of the product development company, which is the core of technology. It's proper technology company. So
Congratulations, we're going to talk about it. Yes. So you've just hit an important career milestone. Can you tell us what it is?
absolutely. I am joining a company which is close by here. It's a software product development company. In my past, as I said, I was always part of technology teams, but I was doing software development as part of technology services. Companies that I worked for were Infosys and Sapient and other SaaS providers. Then I moved on to companies which were the technology-enabled companies, which would use technology teams to do the end business, which was companies like TUI, Carnival, and recently KFC. Now I'm part of a company which is producing software as a end product to sell, which is a proper software development company. I'm taking the role of a director of technology there, and it's kind of bringing all my aspects and skills as well as my aspirations together. I always love to be part of teams that are about innovation and growth. This is an opportunity where almost 40 to 50% of my work is going to be innovation and growth. And that's the really exciting part of what I'm looking forward to.
What does it mean for you to achieve this milestone? Because you had a lot of opportunities coming along the way, and you particularly choose this opportunity. Why?
Yes. So I think over the past 1.5 year, I was very different about a year ago. I wanted to just grow in the same role, and I wanted to make sure that I can go ahead and just continue with my CDO, CTO role and continue growing in bigger organizations which are tech enabled. But then reflecting on what I really want to do and what brings me happiness and what makes me get a good feeling at the end of the day, it was where I thought product development and software development was kind of my gig. I'm more technology oriented. I love being part of technology teams. I love building things. That's where I thought this role was really key. The other thing is the people that I'm going to work with, they all are like me. They all are, they all are technical. Even the CEO writes code. So I think why not give it a chance? Why not work with people who are very similar? And yeah, this is where I chose this one.
Yeah. How does it feel different now compared to maybe just a few months ago?
I think it's kind of peaceful when you know where your skills are and when you know that your aspirations and things you're working. It's not a part-time job you are doing. Every time you want to try and do something which you really like, you have to spend extra time out of your 9 to 5 hours to do that because finally you are working for your own satisfaction as well. If that becomes your main job, then you are at peace. I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I can feel that. Do you remember how you felt on our very first call? What was
Oh, I
life
do.
like before?
I do. I absolutely vividly remember that. I think it was that phase of my career when I was just doing anything and everything to become or to grow in my role, but nothing was hitting, and I was just blindly wielding my sword in all directions to do everything that could be possible. That's not the way to do it. And I think over the past months where we have been working together, I kind of took a step back to say, do I really want to do that, or can I give myself a good thought of what exactly is that what are my strengths and how can I use to build my career on the strengths that I have. what things I don't like, and I don't need to focus on that. Or probably if I don't like but are important, can I turn it around to see if I can, what are the things that I really can do to make sure that even if I don't like, I'm actually good at doing it so that it's not dropping out of my career. So this, when I look at that, eh, I'm really a very different person than I was about a year and a half ago. It took time. It took time when to get to all these stage, because I know when we first started, I was like, okay, let's just do it. One, go, 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 and I couldn't, because it wasn't happening. And to I started realizing that changing oneself is as big a project as climbing Mount Everest or Machu Picchu. You
Mm,
are probably picking up the biggest project of your life,
mm,
and it takes time to do all these things. So
yeah.
that's probably where I think I am now. And I think it's not done yet. There's a lot of things that I have to still do to change myself and my trajectory. It's an
Mm.
ongoing process. So just keeping an observation on what is required, what can be done, and what are my limitations and what are my strengths. It's an ongoing. It's a change that I have gone through
Mm.
to understand what should be done.
Yeah, you said you're a completely different person now. What are
I
the
am.
biggest difference?
I think one of the key things that I've changed in looking at things that were holding me back. One, as I said, stepping back and bringing up the clarity. The second one is, I think from in the discussions that I realized that I always think from my point of view. I used to think from my point of view, and now I've started thinking from what the other person really wants, and why. How can I help? Why would he engage or she engage in the discussion with me? What will be the benefit of getting things done? It's kind of working from a win-win situation. Yes, I want to do things, but I also want to make sure that the other person wins from what I am actually there to hand over. That making that part of your day-to-day routine is what has changed now, and that takes time, because that's what it took the maximum time. I know for the first few months I was like, okay, I have to do these modules. I'll just do these modules, and blah, there will be a magic that will be happening, and I'll get what I want. But it didn't, because I was not actually implementing in my day-to-day life. And now once I started rewiring how to do everyday activity, that's probably one big change that I have gone through, which is thinking from the other person's point of view
Yeah.
and see how to do. Some areas which struck really hard was the objection handling. How I never realized that in trying to prove myself, I was proving somebody else wrong, and not the intention, but probably didn't have the skill to do it. So consciously getting that ingrained in day to day, that's probably what has changed.
Most people don't think they'll come to this program will learn how to handle objections. Tell us more about it.
Oh, wow, it was just an eye opener. I used to do it so many times unconsciously, and it became that was a key change that allowed me to have a proper conversation, a meaningful, more respectable conversation. Because when you try to object someone, and the way I was doing it, I realized I was offending a lot of people, and unconsciously. I've never intended to do it, but it's just my style that was not right, and my way of approaching that problem was not right. But realizing that this could mean a different thing to somebody else, and having that clarity of I can still object to the point, keeping the respect that person has, and making sure that we can have a meaningful discussion, gave a lot of help. In all the discussions that I've had in the last 3 to 4 months, I've started using that objection framework, not just for the interviews that I've gone through, but also for with my wife, with my son, with my dad. It's all about how do I make sure the respect is still maintained and the point is discussed.
Yeah. Amazing. Exactly. The objection handling framework is not just used for like job interview. For example, somebody say, "Hey, you have great profile, but you don't have this specific experience." Maybe it's like you have never led a P&L, you have never led a global team. It's all this kind of argument. But this objection handling framework is not just used for the job interview. You can use it in life, in meetings with your colleagues, with your peers, with your partners, with your suppliers that you need to negotiate with.
Yeah. I think it is a great eye opener of why how others feel. It's also a tool which helps you immediately connect with somebody else's thinking, because the moment start you start going in the right direction, you're acknowledging what they are doing, right? And once you start acknowledging what the other person feels, that's where conversation starts. And I think it was a great shift for me to understand that I need to change that way of my handling objections. And it was a big change. It takes time and effort to implement, but it is a big change.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying here, because the whole process, most people come to me and they say, how can I convince them? How can I persuade them, right? How can I handle conflict? It's not about persuading them. It's not about convincing them. It's not about to win the argument and prove you have a point. All of these, you are never going to win, right? Because if you win, you lose. You lose in any argument. So don't try to win it. Try to win the person, try to win the trust, try to win the job opportunity, try to win the sponsorship. That's what we want to win, but we don't want to win that argument.
I completely appreciate, and I think this is exactly what I have gone through. I mean, in the process of winning an argument, in the process of winning a debate, we lose the person, and that's where at the end of the day, we have people, colleagues who we want to work with. But if I don't have the right process, I'm going to lose that. And it is a realization. Again, I have lost a lot of people. I've made lots and lots of mistakes. I'm candid about it. But I think this change that has gone through has given me a good process of observing myself, at the same time correct a process to correct myself too. To say, how can I make sure that the mistakes that I have done in the past that are not the mistakes that are happening in the future. At the same time, it's a better way of handling everything. So once you once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's part of your it becomes part of your life.
Yeah, you're already sharing your biggest takeaway from us working together now. So, okay, what else?
I think there's lots. These are just the top takeaways that I think we have looked at. But I know that joining the sessions with other people who are sharing, few things I realized is my problems are not unique. They are a problem of everybody else, because if every person who's joining another company, or who's feeling stuck at the same role, or who is trying to make something out of their career, is having exactly the same experience that I'm having, then how can that be unique? So that realization of that the problem is unique, and that other person is the problem, or the or situation is the problem, and I'm always correct. That realization is, yeah, it's not unique, it's my problem and I can solve it. that that came out very well in our sessions, that it's I have to change to make sure that the situation has to be in my favor.
Yeah, you're talking about the community being part of the 1% Academy peer group.
Yeah,
So,
peer group.
how did the peer group push or inspire you in ways that you might not have managed on your own?
I think it is just hearing down their stories and making sure that whenever I join, I listen to the problems and the solutions that they are trying to do, the questions that they ask, and the inhibitions that they have from themselves of why I can't do this, or the fears that they express.
Mm.
Like, understanding and relating to them, because that was probably, I felt the same fears, I felt the same inhibitions, I felt the same problems. I was thinking on the same lines. I had similar problems. I had blockages which I had to rewire and say, that's not the right way of thinking. Let me put it in a different way. And things change. So I think watching my colleagues on that call, to going through their process and trying and pushing through and succeeding, and as well failing and trying another way of doing it, that's what inspired me, saying it's a process that you have to go through, try again and again.
Yeah. And Vihang, you are pretty introverted, and it's exactly the same with everyone in our program currently. And how do you feel about being in this group? Because a lot of people have this concern, oh, I can't open up when I'm in front of others. And I there are a lot of things I don't feel comfortable talking about, especially my challenges with others. How do you feel when you're seeing our group and how we're being transparent and just vulnerable? Tell me your experience here.
I think yes, that's one of the things that I faced initially, and I keep on facing at time to time because each problem of opening up, each vulnerability is different, and each vulnerability has different roots in you. You feel more vulnerable sharing something and less vulnerable sharing. So I became comfortable sharing where I was feeling less vulnerable, and things which were easy, things which were really difficult, they took a while. But it's a habit, I think. If you keep on sharing and you see the community coming back and helping, then it becomes much easier to share more and become a bit more transparent. You That's a process that happens, and I was really holding back a lot before, but slow. But when I saw that everybody wanted to help and nobody was judging and everybody was in the same boat, it was kind of peaceful at that time to say it's okay. I can share a little bit more. And as you know, it took time for me to start sharing, but I feel much more comfortable.
Mm.
The way we share also has changed because of the practices that we implemented in changing the mindset and changing negative way of sharing became a more way of that's a problem that we are looking at. Instead of looking down on me, I started looking at what is the actual issue that we are facing and how do I go about it. So it also helps building you, rewiring the way you put your problems through,
Mm.
and then start talking about what could be a solution to that problem. And that's how it helped.
Yeah. Was there something someone in a group said that really stuck with you today, till this
I
day?
think there's a lot of things that people have shared. Like one of the things that Vivek mentioned, like once he decided keeping negative thoughts out and getting a positive day, that just struck me how quickly he could switch. And I have given a good amount of thought about how do I keep my negative thoughts at bay? How do I uh, how do I ensure that the inner voice that keeps on driving you keeps I keep it in check and make sure that I can drive it in the right direction.
Mm.
That one struck. The journaling part struck a lot. We've discussed about how journaling. I used to meditate, and you were suggesting journaling. Why not do the best of all areas? That's something that someone else mentioned that I'll try both, and I said, okay, that's something that picks up. I can do both of them.
Mm.
So these are things that have helped a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Most people come to this program thinking they're gonna practice writing executive CV, how to talk to the recruiter, and how to go to job interviews or how to have a sponsor. And everything you just talked about here is not that. Tell us how does that connect? How does that journaling mindset work helped you and enabled you to achieve this step?
I think that's a fundamental shift that happened. And to be very candid, Tiffany, I came to the group thinking exactly the same. And it is when I realized that I needed to change, I had to drop and I have to take a longer project of changing myself. It became a habit of thinking about what long-term changes I want to do in myself. And that looking at the 10-year goal, the 20-year goal, and your life's achievement of what really you want to do at your end of your life. How do you want to see your life driving in that direction? And then breaking it down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, coming down to a quarter, and then planning 12 weeks of what actually you want to do in your next 12 weeks. That approach was not clear to me on day one. I was just starting off. I want a job. Let's do it in 12 weeks. And I want to do this. Let's do it. I want a promotion. Let's do this in 12 weeks. But then realizing that job and promotion was not actually how it's going to help me in my life, but how do I change my entire thing? That aha moment was very different. And journaling did help in reflecting to say, I was thinking very different. Now I think very differently. I, once you start putting things on paper, it's somehow I think it becomes a bit more ingrained in you. Even if I type, it doesn't become that ingrained. But if I write, it definitely becomes more ingrained than typing. So that helps. That helped a lot.
Yeah.
Breaking down, planning, visualization, those were the key areas which I started looking. And to be very candid, these are all things I've started putting in action. Once that aha moment starts, then you start putting things in action. And last 4 months have been absolutely fantastic, changing the entire way I used to be and work. Now it's very, very different.
Yeah, for anyone who's wondering, oh, what is this? It's a mindset program. It's not really. Well, to get these are the system you build. This is how you operate as a person, how you feel every day, right? How you want to, who do you want to become? And this is the process leading to the end result of landing that role that you actually fulfilled. But this is the system. Once you have the system, the result is just inevitable. If it's not this month, next month you will achieve
Next
it.
one. Yes, yes. I think that's exactly what I think people should be taking part and taking away from any or everything that they do. It's have faith. Have faith in your system. Have faith in the way you work, and work out what you really want. Because a lot of times people don't know what they really want. The biggest change that happened in me was to understand what I really want. Having
Mm.
that clarity of what I want has been a problem for a long time. I have been flowing my career through changes that happened to me. There was an opportunity, I joined, and it was there. And then somebody asked me, "Would you go there?" Yeah, it went there. I never consciously build my path by saying, "I want this, and I'm working towards it."
Mm.
It took me a while to realize that even if I don't know what I want, I definitely know what I don't want. So eliminating things on my plate gave me a good level of things to say, okay, if I eliminate all these, what's left? And this is what I want. Yes, probably this is what I want. And then
Mm.
start building. That process itself was a very long process for me to find out what I would do really want to do.
Yeah.
And once you have that clarity, then things starts becoming easier to understand. This is exactly how we want to plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you feel will be the main things you will carry forward from this experience working together? Obviously, you are still in our membership, you are still
Yeah,
in with us, but just from what we have worked on in the past few months, in a year, what are
I
the
think
three things
this
you will carry forward?
not basic three things, but I'll tell you the top things that I can go carry forward a lot of things. But the top thing is the journaling, planning, defining, and getting the day planned out. That is that is something that I'll probably implement. I'm carrying forward through every day now. Again, as I was mentioning, objection handling is one of them. That's one of the big things. And I think another thing that I'm carrying forward is how do I discuss and negotiate more to a stage where we are handling the elephant and not the rider, where people work at an emotional understanding people at what drives them. We have done a few practices, and we have gone through a few sessions on how to understand what's happening in a discussion. I think that's probably I'll take forward. And these are top three things, loads and loads of other small things that are still on the list.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who is thinking of joining us, but they're not sure yet? Maybe they say, well, I will do this on my own. I'm not the kind of person who would invest in myself. What would you say to somebody who is still hesitating?
They can do it on their own. I think they will probably realize that when they start doing it on their own, and I was one of them. I was obviously thinking about, think I can read books, I can watch some videos, I can go through a little bit of coaching on smaller things. Why join a big community like this and put a commitment in? I used to do that for years. I've done that. It's possible, but you can deviate from your path very easily. It's something that will happen, but you sticking to a routine and sticking to a structured way of approaching things and taking guidance and mentoring from people who have been there, done that, is very different to reading a book and reading, watching a video on YouTube and going through, and having someone like you be to answer questions and the community to answer the questions as well has a very different effect than just reading a book and marking it, saying this is something that I need to do, because there's no feedback of whether I'm doing right or not when I'm reading a book. That process is very long. It will happen. You can still do it. It will be a very long way of doing it, and I personally think it it has helped me cut short my 10 years of learning into the smaller period of time.
Yeah, thank you for that. And a few weeks ago, we met each other in London with the rest of our community in UK.
Oh, it was great. It's a part of networking, right? I mean, what do you do as part of networking? You just know people in different industries and you just know people on what their roles are. And I think as the more we grow in our role, the more our role is about people and knowing them and knowing across industries and making those connections. Genuinely knowing what clicks for them and what doesn't click for them. It's an exercise. We may not actually work together, but it's a place where you practice of how do you network and how do you know about other people and how do you genuinely connect with people and people who are at the same level but in a very different industry, and at times learn a lot, because again, as I was saying earlier, that learnings are the same. Its problems are almost the same everywhere, and then you realize when they share face to face how authentic it means.
Yeah.
It becomes very, I think, simple to understand things and walk through them when somebody is there explaining alongside face to face.
And Vihang, you are a very generous person because a lot of time I talk with certain members in this program, they always tell me, oh, I talked to Vihang and he told me do this. He gave me advice of this. He shared a tool that is amazing. That now till this day is still using it. You're such a generous person. Not only, I mean, of course, everyone could come to this program to learn, to take content and ideas and mindset and the process and the system of this program, but also everyone is giving a lot as well, giving back and giving to the other members. What's your view on that?
I think, thank you for acknowledging I'm generous, but I think that generally people in the community are very generous and wanting to help. I've reached out to a few, and all of them have always helped. They have given me a different perspective at times. They have given me tools and some immediate steps I can take for doing things. So it's the kind of community that we are building. Like it genuinely, when you start looking at what challenges are. And once you start facing common challenges, you start solving the common problems as well. And that's what people are sharing. That if I can share, I can definitely bring somebody else's problems on the table and say, it's easy to solve this. Why not?
Amazing. It's so valuable to have you, and I'm really grateful to have you in this community. And even very, very happy for you. I'm so happy for you that you achieved this milestone and seeing how happy and fulfilled. And as you said, peace. You achieved the
That,
peace with
that
yourself.
is, I think that's very important. I think sometimes and a lot of times we run after goals which are always going to be more money, bigger role, bigger authority. But at times when you step back, do you really want to do that? Of course, if it comes, there's no harm in doing it. If you enjoy doing it as well, no harm in doing it. But if it comes at a cost where you're not enjoying it and you are stressed out all day and you're somehow dragging through the week, and at holidays become the time where you are still thinking about your job and being stressed, then that's not what you want. Not always more money, more power, more authority is going to be useful for you.
Mm.
Taking time to realize that and taking a step back has been a very, very uh, peaceful and, I think, freeing the change experience for me.
Mm.
I mean, you feel the freedom. You definitely feel the freedom saying, I'm okay. It's all fine.
Yeah. And finally, any last words for someone who is watching this video and they feel stuck, they feel stressed, they feel frustrated in where they are right now?
There is a lot I can share, but I think what we have discussed is quite key for everyone who's who's planning to change, that always it's easier to blame somebody else for your failures or the feeling of being stuck. And there are somewhere you will that somebody will be responsible. But there are more things that you can do yourself to make sure that things work the way you want them to work. And you just need to discover how to get things done. I think that's where it will be important for them to realize that there is a destiny that they can shape, and rather than letting their destiny in hands of somebody else. I could easily sit down and blame my boss for not giving me a promotion. Easily do that. Anybody can do that. I can easily ask somebody saying it was I did not get a salary raise because this happened and you did not consider that. But what did I do to make sure that that happens? When you shift that mindset, it's a maximum potential that you unlock. I personally think everybody can. And it as I was saying, they can do it on their own as well, but it'll take 10 years to realize, or maybe 15 years, or they'll probably never realize. They'll beat around the bush. Having that feedback session of going in the community, learning from others, and getting that feedback session is so critical to squeeze that timeline and say, yeah, what can be done can change immediately.
So well said. Thank you so much, Vihang, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks to you for helping me out and putting me on the right path.
A pleasure. A pleasure.